was a little sweeter.
Welcome to this episode today. I got a good friend of mine on here, Steven Stancil. We've been friends for the last few years and got to know each other through hunting and talking hunting and have mutual friends together. So I appreciate you coming on here and doing the show with me today.
Appreciate you letting me come on, man.
Yep. So we're going to talk about kids today. I know you love taking your kids hunting, and we talk about it all the time. You come see me in the barbershop and all. We talk about how much fun you and Landon and Adeline have hunting together. So tell me how you got them started into hunting with you.
Well, fortunately enough, I was brought up on some family land that we've been able to hunt pretty much my entire life. My dad and mom took me when I was kids, and the main thing was we always kind of had fun no matter what it was. You know, we didn't always have to kill stuff. And, you know, when you're taking kids with you, you're going to have a lot of screw ups. It's okay though. You know, the kids are just out there trying to have fun. But what's been going on with me though is Adeline, when she was about 3, she started wanting to go with me a little bit, because when we would go, she and I would have our little one-on-one time, and it kind of started off where she just liked to have that one-on-one time with Dad. And we'd always try to make it special, where we'd pack a lunch, pack a snacks or whatever. And we'd get all our stuff together, and it'd get exciting where we'd kind of get ready throughout the week. So I'd go pick her up from school, and we'd head straight to the woods, and she'd have her, we'd have a little bag of popcorn, we'd have like a little candy. And at this stage, like, I just want them to have fun. You know, if we see deer, that's great, it's a win. But to me, it's just, the world's so crazy right now, and you know, you're working all the dang time, mom's working all the time. When you're at home, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you don't have that good time to talk with the kids. But like during, whether you're fishing or hunting, it's just like there's no distractions. And so the girl, like my little girl, really quickly drew fast to just like that one-on-one attention with Dad. And I think a lot of it was because when she started, we just had our little baby boy. And so you kind of pulled away from the attention she used to get being the only child. So when she gets that one-on-one attention with me out in the woods or whatever, she really would look forward to it. So we just made it fun. And the first year we started going, she was about 3. And then by the next year, she kind of knew what to expect when we started going. And well,
if I remember, I think you telling me about it, you took her one day, wasn't expecting really much to happen, but you had a buck on camera you was wanting to kill, and y'all had a pretty good hunt, didn't you?
So yeah, so when she was about 4, the very next year, we were sitting out there, and next thing you know, there's this 10-point I've been hunting with my bow. I mean, I was hunting him last year. He showed up some, but he never came within range. The next year comes around, he's now a 5.5-year-old. He's definitely my target buck. It's just one of those deer you lose sleep over, just hoping you see him. And out of the one time my little girl decided she wanted to go this one afternoon with me again, we went out there, and sure enough, here comes this big old 10. And he came in 22 yards, and my little 4-year-old is sitting right next to me watching this whole thing, and this giant deer comes out. And, of course, I get the full draw, smoked him, made a perfect heart shot. And right after I shot this deer, my little kid turns and looks up. She's like, "Dad, you shot him with a laser." And she's like, "It was a laser beam." She saw the luminox. She went nuts thinking it was a laser that went out of my bow. She'd never seen a luminox before. So it was just really funny. Then she got to experience my adrenaline rush, and I was all pumped up. And then we went and recovered the deer, and he didn't make it very far. And I mean, just being able to shoot I think he scored like 137.
Which is awesome Georgia deer, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But with a bow and with a 4-year-old in the stand with you, I mean, it was just, that was.
So I'm sitting here trying to think, you know, you telling me about her being in the stand. You said that in the stand with you. So what kind of stand do you have that you can set your 4-year-old in? How? It's
a raggedy old box stand from late 90s, and we've just added on to it. We've just kept up with it. And the sides are waist high, so from waist up it's completely open. There's no like windows, it's completely open. So any movement, you know, it's like you're exposed. We're only probably 12 feet off the ground, so we're not even that high up.
So when you're shooting your bow, are you sitting down?
Yeah.
Or you don't stand up, you shoot your bow from a sitting down position, and you had her sitting right beside you when it come out.
Yeah, she was sitting right beside me and went the full draw, and she was right here, and the deer was right there. And
that's pretty cool though, because that gives somebody a picture of if they wanted to build a stand, if they did bow hunt, kind of how to do it with your kids, which they make these stands now, these redneck blinds, all this stuff that are nice, and I've actually sat in them, and they're super nice for kids, but I mean they ain't everybody got $3,500 in their pocket. So yours are something that was built from wood, like you said, back in the 90s. Just some
4x4 posts, concrete them in the ground, and
right.
Back from late 90s.
You don't have to go out and spend a pile of money just to be able to carry your kid hunting. Ground blinds and all that works these days. Which I was wondering when you was first telling me about that hunt if you was in a ground blind, because ground blinds are great for kids. But I wanted you to explain that stand scenario while I was thinking about it. So she's hunted a good bit now since then, hasn't she? She's got into it a good bit, So
after that hunt, she kind of got fired up, and the whole summer comes, and through the summer, she's 5. She started talking about wanting to maybe start going on her own a little bit, like with me or whatever. She wanted to start practicing. So I got her little Chickmunk 22, and we started practicing for a year, just started shooting it, and she got to where, she got very accurate with it. And then I would say by the time she was 6, I said, all right, I felt confident. You helped me you were with me when I shot that deer. And that deer, actually, I was in a competition. A little local store had a little big buck competition. We got second place with that deer. And so the money I got for second place, we used that to getting her a gun. And so we got to practicing with that gun a good bit with her, and she could shoot it lights out, no problem.
So let's go into this. Since you told me right there you got her a gun, it was kind of a question I wanted to throw and us talk about. So what caliber, when you went to get her a gun, what was you looking for a 6-year-old, a gun that she could actually shoot a deer with?
So there was a couple options, but everybody kept leaning towards a 223 or a 243, and I personally had some experience taking a 243 before, and if the deer's up close, it seemed like we'd never find the deer. The deer, you shoot the deer and you wouldn't find them. But further distance, it was great. But when I'm taking my 6-year-old, I wanted something really good with some knockdown power up front and close. And a buddy of mine introduced me with this 350 Legend, and man, it's been that sucker. Anything within 80 yards, it just drops on. It's crazy. That's
right. I have a cousin that his son shoots a 350 Legend a lot, and he tells me about how just majorly it just drops them right there in their tracks. And I've looked at them, and they seem like awesome little guns, which my daughter started hunting when she was around 10. She wasn't quite at 6. She killed a deer with a crossbow at 7. So I started her with a crossbow. And some kids do. And I think that's pretty cool, too. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they get to watch there. They get to shoot at targets. It's kind of fun. Shoot at something at 20 yards or so. So her first experience was she killed a pretty nice 9-pointer. It's actually the one up there on the left of the wall. For her first deer with a crossbow, which was interesting. And I was going to let her shoot anything. Right. And, we had some pictures of these deer, and they were coming out late in the evening, and the spike come out, and he was sitting there feeding and all, and I was like, I was going to let her shoot the spike, and she's like, well, we'll wait, and we'll just wait a few more minutes, and the 9-pointer come over the fence, and I was like, dang, there he is. And come up right at dark, and she smoked him. And it was kind of funny on that hunt because I'm sitting there, it was so dark, I was looking through binoculars. I was like, can you see him through the scope? Because I'd put a scope on that crossbow instead of a red dot back then. This has been she's 16 now, so it's been several years back, but I'd put a scope that was a pretty decent scope on it because I was just letting her shoot 30 yards, 25 yards and in with that crossbow. And she shot, and I heard it just swack the deer, but I didn't have a luminoc or nothing on it. I couldn't tell. I heard it swack the deer, and the deer took off, and I thought it went to the left, and I'm out there looking around, can't find nothing. You know how that is, no blood, no nothing. I'm sitting here looking, I'm like, I know she hit this deer. And she's like, Daddy, the deer run that way. And I was like, nah, baby, it run this way, And we was in a field, and a road went around the field, and there was some tall grass on the other side. So I'd looked, and she told me 3 times, Daddy, I think the deer run that way. And I was like, well, nah, because there was several deer that run back to the left. And so I started walking that road, seeing if I could pick up blood. You know how a lot of times you get 20 yards, 30 yards from where you shot it, you pick up blood. Walking around, get right to where she's been pointing at the whole time. The deer's laying in that tall grass, heart shot, just totally dead. And I'm like, learn then, listen to your kid. We think we know it all, but they'll point it out. But I just had that on my mind. I wanted to throw that story out there. But so she got started on a crossbow, but I did get her a 7mm 08, and I think it's a good youth caliber too when younger. But something I did was, and I don't know if you have heard of this or done it, but I put a bunch of lead in the stock of the gun. and it's got that plastic stock. It's a CBA single shot, which made it easy. She was a left-hander, so it's hard to pick out the gun. So I got her a single shot, you know, and I put a bunch of lead in that gun, and the gun weighs freaking 10 pounds. But you know, if you hunting where she's got a good prop and all that, it's no recoil whatsoever. And I kind of did the same thing you did with her. Is I started her on a 22, and I let her shoot, and I mean, she'd drive tacks with it. Learning how to, you know, use that scope, the crosshairs and everything. And we actually went hunting the first time, and she killed a couple of hogs with the gun. And it was loud. She didn't like loud noises. That's one thing with kids. If you can get a suppressor or two these days, it makes a difference. You know what I mean? Yeah. She didn't like the loud noise. She didn't mind shooting. She's like, so I had her earmuffs and all. And she was super crazy about, you don't forget her earmuffs when you get in the stand. Have your kids experienced that? You know what I mean? It's like, I need my earmuffs. And I'm like, nah, you're all right shooting at a deer. No, you're going back to the truck to get the earmuffs, you know. So she was that way. But if you get them to shooting that 22 and get them there and you know your gun sighted in, they really don't have to shoot that deer rifle over and over. You know what I mean? They get used to what they're doing. So I wanted to hit on that because you said you did that with your kids. I think that's a really good way to go. Yeah. Teach them how to shoot easy to start with.
Make it fun.
You got a little boy coming up too, Landon. Y'all done some hunting together too, and I know he's getting fired up about it.
So he's been the one, like Adeline she loves the deer hunt, but Landon's like crazy about it. He's 5.5 now, but since he was 3, I started taking him just like I was taking Adeline when she was 3, and they've just kind of grown to both of them liking it a lot. But yeah, Landon's been with me we had one season when he was 3 again where we had this one buck. I didn't really have a target buck. I mean, we had one I called the Bully 10. He was just an ugly 10 point. But he was 210, 225 pounds, and he was breaking up all the other young bucks and running them all out. So I hunted that deer hard. And finally, like towards the end of the season, we went in the morning, and I had him up at 3 years old sitting on my lap in a tripod stand because it was the only place I knew this deer was being kind of coming locally. Just that was one of his little travel areas. He loved that little area. And sure enough, one morning we went out there, and Landon was, like I said, he was 3 sitting on my lap, and we were able to take that deer with him on my lap. That was, oh man. And his head just, big time. Going back to rifles, because I know you're fixing to start getting him to shooting. I know you got him coming up this year, getting ready to shoot. So what kind of, on that 350 Legend, what kind of, do you have a scope on it? Or Yep.
You have a regular scope?
So the guy at the place that we bought it from recommended a scope that would fit perfect for that gun. And it's a used stock, so it wasn't, the scope was a little bit different than the other ones. And it's set up perfect. I actually got him a 3, so we now have 2. Both the kids wanted their own gun. That was like one thing. They wanted their own. So my daughter got her first gun, and she's been hunting with it. And then I just this year purchased Landon his 350 Legend too. But
that's smart though, because a kid grows up shooting their gun, killing a deer with their gun. I got memories of being little with certain guns, and I would rather do that for mine than let them share, because even when they get older, they're both going to have their own families and have a kid. And and you can pass it. Maybe their kid will kill a deer with that same 350 Legend, and that means a lot. So I would be the same way about getting mine it's their gun. I know, talking about the scope deals, I got a friend that he's had his 6-year-old kill. Well, he was 5 this year, and he killed a nice 8-pointer and a couple of does, but he actually went with a 7mm 08, and I think the 350 Legend is great. I would probably prefer that if I was going with a kid these days too, but he actually put a red dot on it, and it made sense. Like he said, instead of that kid looking down that tube in that bubble and getting his eye right, he just looks into that red dot, and his has a magnification in that red dot, the one he got. But like he says, I'm not letting him shoot over nothing at 50 yards because he's so small and young. You know what I mean? He says the deer gets in there, and he says all he has to do is put that red dot on his shoulder. And he says, I just tell him to put it in the middle of his shoulder right above his leg, and he's boom. And, he's killed a few deer. So I like that point of view. When I'd heard it from him, I was like thinking, red dot ain't bad.
No. And especially because, like you said, if it's within 50 yards, That's the way to do it. I would agree with that because, like you said, there's that bubble. So when those kids are over here trying to look through the bubble or look through the scope, and there's that bubble, they're constantly. That's where it's just like you got to practice, so they know exactly how to get it positioned. But even still, with the scope, you've really got to find the deer in the scope. That red dot would be a lot easier.
You do, because, and I don't know how you have Landon set up, but I would stick with a scope with Adeline with her age, but then with Landon coming up, I would put a red dot on it and say, possibly, what I mean? Yeah, you just look and you get the dot on him. And I turkey hunt with a Vortex Venom, and I really love it. And I've thought about that would be perfect to put on a gun for a kid because it's just that little reflex sight. You can go straight down from what you're looking at to putting that red dot on them, and they're accurate. They're accurate. So I think that's a great way to set it up for a kid. Another thing looking at that I know you've talked to me about, and I'm gonna let you hit on this subject, is a tripod or bog pod.
So when you're talking kids too, we're also dealing with like what age groups with kids. 12-year-olds, they're still kids, but they're not like 5. So if you're 6, 7, 8 years old, it's hard to hold steady on those guns. So yes, I got I think they call it a bog. Mm-hmm. It's a tripod, and actually you can set it up, adjust it how you want, and you can tighten it down where that gun just sits there. I tell you, I've gotten to where I even like sighting my guns in with this. If I'm going to go to shoot, I just use that thing instead of sitting up on a table, and I just like it on that bog. It holds it so good. But now if you've got like an area like you want to shoot, I know generally speaking, when it comes to shooting a deer, it's going to come from this area, so we'll have it just pointed one direction. So we are kind of screwed if a deer comes from behind us. Like, we can't pick the whole thing up and adjust it out of an open box for our setup. Now, in a ground blind, maybe different.
You could probably in a ground blind,
but our setup is specifically like in one area, so I can adjust it or whatnot. But I have it set where they don't even have to hold it; they just get it and they can just aim right through it, and it's right there in their face. So it's real easy for them. But like you said, when they're 5, 6, 7 years old, it's hard to hold a gun steady without, especially buck fever kicking in and all that stuff. That tripod just helps hold it, makes it to. And you got to think about it, like you are. 6-year-olds, man, they're shooting deer. Like, you don't want them to shoot them in the rear. You want to try to make it as easy for them as possible to make. We owe it to the animals to make a good shot.
That's
so.
Right.
It just, that to me has been like the absolute no-brainer. And all my other buddies that are taking their kids, they've actually, and even their wives, like they're starting to hunt, they're bringing that thing because it's so accurate. It makes it just so easy to dead on every time.
It does. It's you can use that thing for a lot of people, and even somebody that's older. It makes it a whole lot easier, a whole lot better. And I've seen some new ones out there today that's kind of pretty cool that they attach to your stand. It's like got a cradle arm. You know what I mean? That, like, it can move out the window. You can move a gun on. They would look pretty cool. But a lot of my hunting I have done with kids that are youth, and even my daughter and all. We hunted when it come to deer. A lot of times was out of a ground blind. And I really enjoyed the ground blind hunting too, which it puts that deer right there on you. It's like face to face, but it gives them the ability to move around. You can't keep a kid still, man. It's no, It's no possible way, and it lets them move. And even turkey hunts I've done with youth is I've set up ground blinds, and I do not like turkey hunting out of a ground blind, but I will do it for a kid. You know what I mean? If I know I got a turkey on a field or whatever, I went in there like the morning way before daylight, popped up a ground blind, kind of put it in the right place. Okay, we're going to get in here and try to kill this turkey. He's been in this field every morning. And it works, and it helps. You can take that tripod and just put it to a window, and even if you're feeding deer, or if it's a turkey with a strutter decoy, you can go on and have them out that window. You know what I mean? The gun already on that bog. And a lot of times the kids are small enough, and Joey, I'd like to talk to him on another episode about this, and his kids. It's been just immaculate this year. He's got a 4-year-old. We talked about it the other day that he killed 2 turkeys at 4 years old. But the gun's on the bog pod. They come to the decoy, and it's pretty cool. The first one was in a ground blind. The second one, he had one of those, and this works good with kids too. One of those little like expandable stake blinds. don't sit but so high.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That you can kind of put yourself behind and maybe cut a couple of limbs and brush it in good. And that kind of works. It's like he says, and and I know. I mean, my daughter's 16. She still goes hunting, but it's like she's gonna be steadily sitting there looking at that phone, looking around. And I don't try to fuss at her or nothing like that. I want her to enjoy the time that we go. So you've got to have them hid some ways. So I know it's been kind of hard with you and them old box stands, but I guess if them walls are, like you said, chest high on you or so, then for them being smaller, it kind of, their probably heads popped up over it, didn't it?
So I have a seat that can adjust up, and I'll have everything ready, and then like when we know there's a deer coming and they're going to probably shoot one of these, I'll go ahead and start scooting that seat up to where it's up just high enough. I didn't have it the first time. I had to just put pillows, and I just sat on a bunch of pillows to bring up high enough to try and do it. But people ask all the time how in the world you get kids at 3 and 4 and 5-year-old hunting, and how do you get them out there? But you mentioned like the phone thing. At this stage, I mean, I'll let the kids bring an iPad if they want, because at this point you just want them to have fun out there, to where they know they're going outside. They're going, even if it is 30-40 minutes of that lull time, and you're like, man, there's deer aren't moving, there's nothing going on, the snacks are running out. Let them play on the iPad for a little bit. We'll turn the volume down. It keeps them keeps them busy enough, and I'll use it for a little bit. But like the first 2 years when they're first going, that iPad's been just a game changer. But then now it's like Landon's been going so much, he doesn't even care to bring it anymore. But he's introducing it. Right. I mean, dads tell me all the time they can't take their kids hunting. They get bored too quick and stuff like that.
You can't let them. You got to have, I mean, you do, and I used to do this with Collie, and you got to make it to where it's so fun. You got to make that special trip by the Dollar General. Let's go down the candy aisle. Let's go get a bag. You know what I mean? You can take this, and you can't go expecting to kill.
Yeah.
You're not hunting like you're wanting to hunt, say, I'm going to kill a deer. It don't matter if you kill or not. It's the time when you're going with that kid to enjoy it, and then hoping later on that they grasp it and get it, like I think yours are starting to, and be like, I want to go. I want to see an animal. And like, the good Lord's going to bless you at times if you put the effort in with your kids and all. And I think He's done that with you, is blessed you with some really good hunts that the kids have got to witness and see, and brings you together. And that is one of the things that I think is really important, is not pressuring them, and really just trying to get them to where they enjoy going outside and being outside with you.
My daughter, she's always had that little rabbit's foot. Like, she'd hunt 2 or 3 times a year, and I mean, we'd pretty much knock it out one of the first few times with her. Landon on the other hand, he sees a lot, but we usually if I'm the one who shoots and he comes with me and I'm the one who's going to be shooting, it's hard for me to like shoot a small little basket rack or something, even if it's with my, like we'll shoot does or whatever. But when it's a target buck you're trying to hunt, it's just, I don't know, to me, I can't even go by myself anymore. I mean, it's if I'm going to go, the few times I've been able to actually shoot a really big deer the last few years has all been with my kids. Like, I haven't shot a nice deer by myself in a very long time. It's been with one of my kids right beside me, and it's 10 times more fun when that little kid's shaking just as much as you are about it, and he gets all pumped up. And
how many deer has Adeline killed now?
She's killed 2 good bucks.
And how old is she?
She is 8.
8. She's turned 8. So
yeah, she's 8.
When did she turn it? When was her birthday?
In December. So her first buck was a big 9-point that we were actually getting ready to shoot a 7-pointer. It had come out, and this 9 came out from behind it. Didn't even know it was going to be there. She was 6, and he actually ran that deer out, and the one that she was trying to get on, and it was just a 2-year-old, and I was going to let her shoot whatever. Right. And this 3.5-year-old 9-point comes out and had just a really pretty buck. I was like, oh my gosh. Comes out, and she was trying to shoot that deer, and like you said earlier about the earphones, I didn't have them on her, and she would not shoot that gun without her headphones, and we got a deer at 21 yards.
So you went through the same thing, dude, and you're like, shoot the deer, just shoot the deer.
I told her 100 times, baby, shoot that thing. You're not even going to hear the gunshot, but she refused. I can't without my earphones. So this deer's literally 20 yards away from us, and I'm scooting down, reaching in the bag. We're the stinking headphones, So finally, I found them. I was able to get them on her, and the deer positioned itself where she was able to take a good shot. And I mean, it was awesome. But 6 years old shooting a 3.5-year-old 9-point. I mean,
Oh yeah. So she did about the same thing Callie, my daughter, did. Then it's like you're there to let her shoot whatever, and ends up killing. I think that's girl luck. My wife's killed a couple of nice bucks. It's like, what in the world is this? That girl luck they have. Yeah. But yeah, that I could see that same scenario as like Kylie happening with you. Kylie with the earphones is just this crazy. And then she tells me, what I was going to say too is, she tells me that I make her more nervous. Have you heard that one yet?
Not
it's
yet.
It's like, Daddy, you get so nervous, you make me more nervous. And I do. I like fall apart when it's my kid, So
this last season, she was 7, and I have been bow hunting with my little boy for the whole bow season. I had this one big 8 that was a 6.5-year-old this year. And I was hunting him hard, and we never saw the deer, never saw it. Well, youth weekend comes, and of course, my little girl's like, Dad, let's go again. So Landon was upset because he couldn't come. I brought Adeline, and this time I was a little more prepared about the headphones. And sure enough, like, same scenario, we're sitting in the stand, and a nice buck had come out. One I was going to let her shoot, and during the time we're getting ready to shoot that, randomly way behind me, here comes a little buck, and there's a really big deer behind it. Couldn't tell what it was, and sure enough, it was the deer I've been hunting all daggum year.
The one you were hunting.
And I hadn't even had a picture of him in 10 days. And this is the first time she's been to stand with me this whole year. And this is middle of October. We've been hunting for 6 weeks at this point, just about. And I guess it was about 4 weeks. But anyways, deer comes out. She makes a shot of this deer. I've been just I couldn't wait for this year. It was my target buck. And it kind of just like, when she shot that deer, I was like, how in the world? Like, there's nothing better. I mean, that was my target deer. I would not have been half as happy as I was when she shot that thing. And we were trying to record afterwards, and my heart was pumping. I was shaking more than she was, and she was all excited. But I mean, it was. But again, the headphone thing, we had to have those on. But she, taking them like it when they shoot, it's 10 times more fun than you by yourself. I mean, I don't know. At least it is for me. But
right,
I don't know. But yeah, she shot that.
Same way with me. I'd rather watch mine and kill a deer or turkey or anything way more than me kill. The adrenaline, like I said, I get. If we do have a target buck that me and her's been hunting, I mean, when that deer walks out, or even just a good set of horns, it's funny how I'll just more fall apart, more nervous than I ever will with myself. I don't ever get nervous nowadays. It seems like till after I pull the trigger, then that adrenaline hits. Like, yes, I killed the deer, wanting to kill. Like when it walks out and I get the heebie-jeebies, and I'm like, oh my God, here he comes, get ready, do this. And she's over there like, calm down. I mean? She's 16 now, you know what I mean? It's like, Daddy, just calm down. I'm like, all right, So she holds it together better than me. But yeah, it's nothing like having your kids sitting there. And like I said, even like me and her, we hunted several times last year and didn't even pull the trigger. We had a target buck that she was wanting to kill, and I would see him and wouldn't shoot it. Didn't want to shoot him, wanted her to. So I had that happen a couple of times, and me and her pulled up one day, and he was in the field before we got there. And I seen him like from the truck, and we'd got out, and he hadn't seen us, but kind of went down the field, and it was just a shot I wouldn't want her to try to take. And but this, the point of going, memories, man. And I'll tell you, cherish that, because mine's 16 now, and it's like she don't want to go as much on a girl. Sometimes I think boys might stick with it a little more. But I've had friends that's got girls that's really. I got one friend, his daughter's killed deer, turkeys, and she's a teacher now at school and married in her mid-20s, and he says she's still calling me, Daddy, where are we going to hunt at open in the morning? You know what I mean? Like, she hunts by herself, but that's always been, cool. So it's the way you raise them.
Talking about memories and stuff, something that just this past year that fascinated me a lot. So Landon, like I said, I started taking him when he was 3, and this year he was 5, and he was hunting with me a lot, and he was remembering something. We were walking to one of our stands, or to the stand where I like to take them to. And when he was 3 years old, me and him were trying to get to this stand, and there was the year I was trying to get that ugly Big 10 point. We were hunting that deer hard, and we were walking to our stand, and halfway to the stand, we're in the woods, and all of a sudden there's a doe with a little buck just staring right at us, like 40 yards in the woods. Like, oh shoot! So we stop, and then I've got a 3-year-old, so I'm trying, don't move, just sit still, hold on, don't move. And next thing you know, like we're sitting there, we're at a staring contest, just staring at each other, and all of a sudden, this other little buck comes up and bumps the doe, and it runs, and all of a sudden there's like 4 or 5 little bucks chasing this. Well, I stand up, and there's a hill, so I could see over the hill, but Landon couldn't see over the hill. Well, that 10 point that we were hunting was right with them. Well, I saw this deer, and the deer was running around, and while it was running around in circles, there was a log, there's a stump, like right here. I had me and him sit down, and we sat there for like 40 minutes and watched these deer do this thing, and I kept praying that 10 point would come up. And the deer never did. The deer just stayed down. I could have shot him twice. I mean, there was 2 opportunities to shoot him, but Landon couldn't see him. So I passed the deer because I didn't want to shoot it with him not being able to watch it, because to me, that was the whole point in spending all this quality time trying to get him to see me do this.
Right.
Well, then fast forward 2 years, we were walking to our stand this past season, and as we're walking, he goes, "Dad, you remember that log right there?" And I was like, "What about it?" And he's like, "Remember we sat down that log and we were watching those deer and those bucks were chasing that doe?" I was like, "Boy, that was 2 years ago. And you're 3. How do you remember at 3 years old? You remember that was I mean, we walking 500-600 yards back in the woods, and he remembered, and that was the exact spot. But from 2 years prior, he said, "Daddy, that was one of the funnest hunts. We sat on the ground."
Right.
Like it was an accident trying to get to our stand. But
And what's crazy about that, to me, I think he'll remember that forever.
Yeah.
And because I look back at my dad and him taking me hunting, and things were different back then. We got put in the stand. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We didn't get to hunt till we was 10, 11, 12 years old. But I can remember one time going hunting with him and sitting on the ground, and we had some does come in like within, and back then you had certain doe days, certain stuff, but we had does come in within like 10 yards. And it's like one of them went to like smelling towards our boots. You know how
Yeah,
they do?
oh,
Like,
yeah.
and he was the whole time just, don't move. You know, she's looking at us, don't move. And they'd do that head up and down, you know what I mean? Like they're going to feed and then look back up. And I can just remember that. And I was probably 7 or 8, but just sitting there with him and doing that. You didn't hear of no kid back then shooting
Yeah.
a gun or killing a deer
Well, they had
at
the calibers
7. You know what I
probably
mean?
back then,
Yeah. I mean, they had a
20 gauge.
They had a
buckshot.
30-06 that I shot a 30-06. This is funny that at 14 or 15, I killed a deer. Daddy's got an old Remington 700 30-06 with a burr scope on it. Killed 3 deer in one morning. That's a whole nother story on that because he made me clean all of them and everything. But anyway, I picked that gun up out the cabinet. This has only been probably 10 or 12 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to kill a deer with this old 30-06. Bolt action, like I said, Remington 700. I went and got some shells for it. Took it down to our pond. I shot it twice. I went and put it back in the cabinet. I'm like, this joker will kill you. You know what I mean? I'm like, how was I shooting this gun back then at that age? So, yeah, it's totally different, a game changer on what they have put out there for kids to be able to use, recoil, manage-wise. And, I mean, they make bullets now. I mean, that's one thing about, like, when I go back to that 7mm 08, I mean, you could buy recoil-managed bullets, you know. They're not hyped up. They don't have the powder in them. You're not going to shoot deer at 300 yards, but, you know, 150 yards and in, you got a bullet that's recoil-managed, so it helps on the kick. And when I first started Kylie like that, that's what I bought. I bought recoil-managed bullets, and I put that lead in that gun, and that gun did not have no kick. I mean, it was no more than that 22 she was used to shooting. It was crazy, you know what I mean, to be able to shoot a high-powered rifle like that. So, yeah, they have done a lot of stuff that has helped with kids big time. I mean, now in the turkey hunting world, I mean, which I'm actually hunting with it, but, I mean, kids get to kill a turkey with a 410.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and I mean, I grew up like you was talking about. I was handed that 20 gauge to start with, but I didn't stay on it long. And it was like, here's the 12. Then we went to a 10 gauge. You know what I mean? Talking about break your shoulder just because you thought you was man enough to shoot it. And that was in my teens, you know what I mean? Late teens. And it's like, now you can sit there and kill a turkey at 40 yards, no problem with a 410. And that's
crazy.
Crazy what they have put out there.
Technology on these rounds.
Yeah. So do you, just getting your kids like pumped up for season when you start going in and feeding the deer, do you get them to go with you, Landon go with you, y'all put out the corn and
so we do
cameras, you know what I mean,
Oh,
setting
yeah.
the cameras up and get to watch the deer at home, look what we got here. And
So I like to first when we get out there, like we'll go out, put out the cameras, start putting out some feed for them, and we get back. First thing I'm like, oh, look at this ugly joker. It's me and him on the camera, you know. And of course he's always laughing, but it starts clicking at 3 years old. You know, you got to think like, how does a 3-year-old think about there's something in the woods taking pictures? Like, so you got to kind of explain what you're doing. But over the process, yeah, like he'd start seeing, oh, there's like the Big 10, or there's the White 8, so they start recognizing, you know, some of the deer on those cameras and stuff, and just making it fun. They love looking at the trail cameras. They love going out working on. My little boy will we'll go out there and burn food plots and plow him. He'll ride on the tractor with me all dang day, just plowing, and he loves it all. Anything that's outdoor stuff.
So if you're going, he's headed.
Oh, I
know he's quite a little bass fisherman too, because I've seen him in your boat with you. And for his age, I actually witnessed this one day. I was out crappie fishing, and you pulled up. We talked about the same tree out there, and that joker's slinging a bait caster. How old is he now?
He's 5. I got him throwing a bait caster at 3.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know.
I mean, I couldn't throw a bait caster at 16 hardly without burning this and half the time. So yeah, you worked really well with him. I can tell he's a little go getter.
Oh, he's got the drive too. He's seeing his sister shoot all these deer too. So this year
that puts him in it.
He'll be 6 this year, and I tell him we got to wait. I mean, I know it's still really young, but I say you got to wait till at least 6. And he knows this is the year he'll be able to tote a gun a little bit this year. So
I got to come, and it's exciting, and that's what I love about like our friendships and all with you and different friends I got. I got that phone call that Adeline had shot this deer, and I mean, you're not that far from me to ride to where I was at. Like, you're at home, you need to come over here like now. I'm like, all right. He's like, she killed a good one. He's like, dude, you don't know, she's killed a good one. And you share your pictures with me, and we share stuff back and forth for deer hunting. And so me and my wife got to ride over there, and I got to witness that special moment. And I mean, that grin you had from ear to ear, and she was excited, but she was like, let's head it to the Waffle House. You remember that? She's like, we kill something, we got to go eat at the Waffle House. But I went and looked at that deer, and I know Steven's saying that it was one of his target bucks or main target bucks that year. And we sit here and we talk score and, talk about what a deer scores. And I mean, I could hit on that and go down a rabbit hole and a whole different podcast on what does it really matter, what a deer scores or not. But that was a heck of a deer. I mean, it was an 8-pointer, and I don't know if you even put a tape, like me and you says half the time it ain't even worth putting a tape on it. But I guarantee you, I've looked at a lot of deer, and that deer was a mid-130s 8-pointer.
Yeah.
I mean, super stud, super mass, super tine length.
Had big 7-inch brow tines.
Yeah, brow tines, like I said, 7 inches. When I pulled up and looked at it, I was in awe. I was like, Steven, I mean, just beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful deer. And I was like, you was just tickled. He's like, can you believe she killed this deer, man?
Yeah. So. Like I said, she's got the luck. And, we obviously got it mounted, and she loves to show it off. Everybody comes, but look at the one I got. I mean, it puts a lot of mine to shame, to be honest. But, I mean, that's why it was my target deer. I mean, I had bragging rights over that dang thing, and I don't know. Anyways, that was.
But that's going to give Landon that drive when big sister's like, look at the one I got. And so
I don't know if he'll be able to beat her. He'll probably shoot a 4-point, and then he'll be embarrassed, because But like I said, I mean, it's all about fun. But Landon's going to have the drive. He's working hard, and Adeline's put in like 4 hours, 6 hours a year, and will kill something like that. Landon's, he'll put in 40, 50 hours a season with me hunting, and we might kill one, and that kind of deal. But he loves going. And you mentioned the Waffle House. I'm all about like a tradition thing. So every time we do try to go hunting, like you mentioned, going to the store and picking out a drink or candy, but we'll stop by the convenience store, let them go pick out. They know they can get any drink they want in the store, just one. Pick out anything you want and any snack you want, and then we go. And then afterwards, usually by the time we get home, we're 30 minutes away. So by the time we get home, it's kind of hard to cook dinner or whatever. So they just want to go to Waffle House and get that chocolate milk and that, waffle.
That's right.
that's but it's like tradition. Every time we do stuff with Dad, they just.
But that makes it so good, and that stuff. They're going to remember that forever. And like you saying, you're doing I credit you for doing such a good job with those kids and all. And another question I have, so your kids, and I know that Landon, he hunts with you, like you said, year round, and like you told me, you don't hardly go with them or throughout the whole season. You said it's not even as fun anymore going hunting without them sitting with me or with me. So how do you dress them? You know what I mean? Because it gets cold, and that's one of the things, even like Kylie, when it gets really cold and all, it's even at these days, I can put warm clothes on her. It's hard to get her to go. What do you do to try to prepare for yours to stay warm, stay comfortable?
So I bring a really warm blanket with me. I put it in. So we bring 2 bags. I bring my hunting bag. I give my kids their hunting bag, and their hunting bag is going to have like this big camo blanket. I mean, it's thick, it's extremely warm, but I invest in good boots. They got muck boots that are. I mean, Georgia only gets so cold, but But when they go, I mean, if you're cold, you're done. I mean, you may as well you don't want your kid to freeze out there. But I mean, generally speaking, I mean, even if he has to sit on my lap, and I'll put the blanket around both of us if it gets really cold, whatnot, and we just sit and get warm. But generally speaking, we don't have that issue. And also, I'll bring hot chocolate. Hot chocolate's like, it's crazy what that hot chocolate will do, and when it starts getting a little chilly, and I will do.
You just put a thermos on, put it in a thermos, and then have it there like a Stanley thermos, and then.
But you want to wait till like 45 minutes to an hour before dark, otherwise
to break it out.
Well, otherwise they'll I gotta pee, and it's like dang gummit.
I know.
So wait as long as you can before you start giving them too much to drink. Right. But no, I definitely do the blanket. I'll have them stand up and I wrap it like it's a towel, and then they sit down, and they haven't had any issues.
Well, boys, and I mean, I had 2 girls, and I got friends. I got several friends that had 2 boys, and I sit there and think about my hunting experience with my girls, and I don't know how your daughter is, but it's like boys are so easy. It's like whip it out and pee. Girls like, I'm not peeing, but I got to pee, and it's like, well, what do you want to do? I don't know, but I got to pee. It makes it a whole different scenario. So. That it is easier, a whole lot easier on boys.
But, also, I didn't mean to change subject, but back on what to keep them warm, I forgot about this, but you can get hunting stuff even on Amazon for cheap. I mean, I remember 2 Christmases ago, I ordered a pair of overalls or coveralls for the kids. They were ski bibs, but they're camo, and they were like $22. I mean, those things have been, a game. I'd take them fishing in those things. I mean, he'll wear them anywhere when it's really cold, and those bibs are like game changer when it comes when it's cold out, whatnot.
Well, one good thing you got, especially when they're that young, it's hard to find. Like, you got youth clothes, so it's not really. It is some you could go in and spend the money on girl stuff and boy stuff, but the good thing but you got the second one coming along, and I even had that, like with even when Madison went a little bit, you buy something, but the next one grows into it, so it's not like you're sitting there having to buy 2 of this, 2 of that half the time. By the time Adeline gets out of them boots, Landon can get into them. You know what I mean? So it makes it a little bit easier if your youngins have that much difference in them. Where they can step into that clothes and stuff. Like Kylie outgrew stuff, and I've given a couple of my friends like overalls and coverall. You keep that stuff, and then the ones that even like Joey, a good friend of mine, his little boys, orange vest, the little bitty orange vest. It's like, here, dude, I got all, let me bring this to you because you can use it. All of mine are grown, pretty much grown, it seems like. Kind of sad sitting there thinking about it, listening to y'all talk about your little ones. Yeah, mine's done went through the spell, but we did have some fun times and some really good hunts together too. So good memories, and that's what it's all about. But keeping them warm is a big deal.
So. When you look back at some of your best memories with your dad, they weren't at the movie theater.
No.
They weren't at Six Flags or a music park. They're probably in the woods or in the stand or on a boat, doing something with your dad. I mean, like, doing some outdoor activity is like probably your best memory. And my best memories with my dad was deer hunting with him. That was my best memories were doing that.
That is most of my memories. And I grew up in a big hunting family, and most of my memories is nothing but hunting. And I don't want to steal it like from Michael Waddell, but I was listening to a thing like he says you can take your kids to do certain things, and even when it comes to sports, they might remember a home run or they might remember stuff, but most of that game, even travel ball, they do it so much, they're not going to remember that.
The details.
But them going out in the woods, and even like Landon, hey, you remember that log? We sat on it. Those things that the good Lord put out there for us to witness and see in his outdoor creation, they're going to remember that. And I remember like just times and stories with my dad, I can remember so many hunting details, and we were big into coon hunting with dogs. I have so many memories of that. I'm talking about staying out late, even as a young boy, 12, 13, trying to find the dogs, or one of them's gone, or the dogs. I remember one hunt, and I'm going to put this in there because this was kind of cool to me. I can remember my dad carried me on a competition hunt. I thought it was just the greatest thing to get to go on this competition hunt with him, and he had coon dogs. He had really good coon dogs, and we went, and all the dogs had treated except my dad, and this was a night champion cast, so these were like the best of the best, up in some of the dogs, and there's usually 4 dogs in a cast. I'm going to try to make this quick. 4 dogs in a cast, and 3 dogs had treed, but he hadn't heard our dog. He hadn't struck her, treed her, nothing, no sound from her whatsoever. And he was winning the cast. They had already treed like 2 coons, and this was like it towards the end. They was going to do one turn right because you're timed, 2 hours worth of hunting, but each time you tree or whatever, they stop the clock. You have a judge. And I remember these dogs treed in a hole on a creek bank, and we went to them, wasn't far from the truck, and we went to them. And these dogs were treed. Judy was his dog. He won some really big hunts with her. They, all of them were there. Well, all of a sudden in this hole, if you pull the dogs back, you could hear this. So my dad's like, that's Judy. It's got to be Judy. She's done dug her way in the hole, and you could tell where dogs have been digging. We couldn't get in there to her, so he's panicking. This is really at that time a coon dog, you know what I mean? He's like, I gotta get my coon dog out. He leaves and tells the judge, I'm fixing to leave and run to a house and get a shovel. And I can remember me as a young boy thinking, dang, my dog, that's my dog too, man. You know what I mean? We got to get my dog out, and I get in the truck with him. Like I said, I'm young. And he flies down this dirt road. I'm talking about just flying, gets to this house, knocks on the doors. I'm sorry, I know it's late at night. I need to get a shovel. And the guy gives him a shovel, and we take off back. And we're probably gone like 30 minutes because we was way up in the middle. I can't even remember where we was at. Way up East Lake Sinclair, that side, way up. And there wasn't no houses, nothing then. And we get back, and they're all standing by the road where the dogs and all were at. And that pulled up, and the judge that was there come up the truck and said, you can calm down. He said, Daddy's like, you can calm down. He said, y'all get her out. He said, nah. He said, it was a possum. He said, that possum was, how they'll hiss. He said, it was a possum hissing. We dug enough to get to that possum. He said, all the dogs got scratched. That means they're disqualified because they're not on a coon dog. He said, walk up here and listen. And you could hear Judy, yo, 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 yo. She was treed. Went across there, it was a clear cut. They shined a spotlight across there, you could see the coon in the tree. He said, she won this cast. He said, I went on and struck her and treated her for you.
So those other 3 dogs
and the other 3 dogs were disqualified.
Because they were after the possum.
But that was a hunt I'll remember as a young boy. I'll remember it forever. You know what I mean? And it's just stuff like that. So I had a really good childhood. I grew up with a really good childhood and straight in the outdoors. I had uncles that really big time turkey hunters that loved it, that I got to follow behind. They wasn't going to tell you no secrets or nothing. It was old school back then, you know what I mean? And my hunting was different. I look at these kids, and I don't know how you were with your dad, but I got dropped off. Once I was 10 years old or whatever, we went down a dirt road, and I got pointed and said, there you go. Go down there, where that stand is, and you hunted.
Yep.
And, I can remember my first deer, I'm going to tell this little story right quick too. My first deer was with a 20 gauge with buckshot.
Yeah.
And got set in a stand. It was in a little ladder stand that was just narrow as could be. You get up in there and you sit there. And I'd seen this deer come by, and I could see it had spikes. And I sat there and couldn't shoot. It was a little too far, and it went on down through the woods. Well, it was getting dark. And my uncle was sitting below me. My dad was in another stand. My uncle had got out of his stand and was walking to me and spooked the deer, run the deer to me. Well, the deer comes running. I see this deer just boogity up the bottom. I got an old buckshot shotgun, and I already think, it's that spike. Don't have a clue. And this is when you didn't have doe days, or you had doe days at the time. And I throw up and just boom, unload on the deer. And the deer, actually, I take the front part of it out, and it crawls. And no joke, Steven, it gets between the ladder and the tree. I'm looking down at the deer. Well, my uncle walks up, and he's like, you scared the crap out of me. He was like, I was fixing to whistle to let you know. He said, my lips were puckered up to whistle, and boom. He said, you just shot. I'm like, dang, what in the world? He said, what'd you shoot at? I said, well, I shot a deer. And I could see the spikes on him. Little old spikes, on his head. He said, what'd you shoot? I said, a spike. He said, well, where's he at? I said, he's right here. He said, where? Because it was getting that darkish, you know what I mean? And he didn't even have a flashlight, I don't think, hardly at the time. Back then, it was crazy hunting when we look at nowadays, And I said, lanterns, man, I ain't that old. Come on. We had the whole 6-volt flashlight with the buttons, making me look like I'm 80, man. But, the deer was laying there, and I was like, he's right there under the stand. He said, under your stand? I'm like, yeah, he's right under the stand. Well, he eases up and finally sees the deer. Well, the deer sees him because this just broke down from where I shot him in the front with that buckshot, and the deer just plows down through the woods. And so he goes down through there, which he ends up finishing him off, you know, and then getting me out the stand. We go get him. But you couldn't tell me nothing. Man, I done killed a spike. You know what I mean? And he was like, how did you know that deer was a spike? I was like, oh, I knew. I could see his horns. He's like, ain't no way you could see his horns with him running. And luckily, it was the same deer I'd watched walk by me, but that was like my first deer.
That's cool.
Tell me your first deer story, since we're talking about kids. Tell me how you killed your first deer.
So I was with my dad. I think I was 8. My brother was like, my brother's older than me. He was 2 and a half. He was 10 and a half. He's like, all right, you go this way and you climb up. We had those old climbers where you had to literally hug the tree and
waymaker stands is what it was.
So he climbed up in a tree, and me and my dad, and we went down and we crossed this little creek, and we were up on this oak ridge, and it was about like maybe 9 o'clock or so, and all of a sudden we hear boom. You know, I'm 8 years old. We don't have cell phones, you know, so. Yeah. Oh my gosh, like that had been Philip, like my brother, he just shot one, like let's go. My dad went, let's give it a little bit, we gotta let it wait anyways. And so we're sitting there waiting, and I'm just ready to go. We've been sitting for 3 hours in the morning. I'm ready, I'm done. It's cold, I want to go see what my brother just shot. Well then literally 30 minutes goes by, it's about time, we're about to go up, and all of a sudden my dad's like, oh wait, hey, Taz, I was like, what? He's like, look. We look, sure enough, here comes this massive deer, and it ends up being a 7-point, but he's missing brow, so he would have been a 9 with brow tines, but he was a big deer. Comes out, and only deer I think we saw the whole day, and here comes this big old buck, comes up, and back then my dad had gotten me, I think it was his dad's actually, it was a 44 Magnum. It was like a
little carbine. I got one. I love them.
Jugger didn't kick for nothing.
No. Good for youth.
Yeah,
you know
for
old
sure.
School, but you don't hardly see them. But I got one in the gun cabinet.
So I'm sitting on the ground, and I'm sitting on the right side of my dad, and he's on the left side, and he's over here like holding the gun like right here. Like, do you see him? You know, the deer's 40 yards from us, and we're on the ground. He's just eating acorns, and so of course I'm over here, you know, trying to do this number, and finally I shoot the deer, and I missed him, and he's like, shoot again. I'm like, Dad. He's like, no, shoot again. So then I just pulled the trigger again, and when I did, the deer bucked up this way, and he took off running, and he laid down, and sure enough, he got back up, and we watched him walk, and he flopped down, and he fell in this big gully. Well, 20 minutes later, we walk down. Sure enough, we see this deer. My dad's ecstatic. He's just, oh my word, what have you shot? Like, this thing is huge. And of course, I mean, it's my first deer. It's a really good deer. And so at this point, my brother he killed one doe. And we go we go, and he meets us, and he comes and helps us come get my deer. And my brother comes walking up, and he's looking in this ditch, and he sees this massive, I'm only 8, so anything is big then, but this one was it was a nice deer. He was just like, oh my gosh, like, you gotta be kidding me. And so we get this big buck. My pastor was hunting with us at the time too, so it was us hunting with the older guys. You know, everybody was all pumped up. We get the deer out, we go, and then like, Phil, didn't you shoot a deer too? He's like, yeah, and it was buck only then. It was buck only, so we knew it was a buck. We go to get his deer, and he was so like, it was a one-horn spike.
Right.
He didn't want to go get the thing.
You could tell something was up.
I'm his little brother, so of course that was the funniest part of the story. Was he was I upped him bad on that. His first buck and my first buck was we had pictures, and he wouldn't even hardly smile for him. He's holding up his one horn spike, and of course I got a nice buck, and it was priceless. But it was with my dad.
Yeah. Yep. You brought up something that's got another story for me to tell. I love telling stories anyway, and talking about kids these days, how they get to hunt the way we got to hunt. But that 44 carbine. All right. So I shot the deer with my 20 gauge to start with, and then my dad handed me or gave over to me to start hunting with that 44 Ruger carbine, and I kind of liked it. Once I got to hunt with it, I liked it. But I remember the second deer I killed with it, and it was a 3-pointer. And it was like, so my first deer was a spike, second was 3. Back then, you was hunting, boy. You was hunting horns.
You didn't have cameras,
Just hunting meat. We ate a lot of deer, too. And I remember going in this morning, and my dad took me in. It was just cracking daylight, and he had me following through the woods. And, back then, you followed your dad through the woods. You got slapped in the face with every tree limb comes through. You're trying to hold it together and be a big boy, And I think I killed my first one when I was 11, so I was 12 on this one. And got to the stand, and it was this tree that had 2x4s, treated 2x4s, cut down to about 6 inches, so they were like blocks. and these blocks were drove in by them big 16 penny nails.
Oh, yeah.
And they're drove in for a grown man to climb.
Yep.
And the stand probably wasn't 12 foot off the ground, but the way this tree was. But I mean, I'm 12 years old, little bitty dude, and Daddy says, all right, there's your stand. He says, climb up there in it. Well, I went to climb up there in it, and it was like, spider monkey trying to get to these things, couldn't only get. And God. Daddy's like, get up there now.
No safety harness there.
No, nothing. Get up there now. I got to get to where I'm hunting at. And it really got to me and got to hurt my feelings because, I mean, daddies were rough back then. He jumped on me. He's like, I'm telling you, get your butt up in that stand now. And I was having a hard time. Well, I got up there and done got my feelings hurt, so I'm done got teary-eyed. I ain't going to lie on it, Young boy done got feelings hurt, got a little bubble teary eyes in there. And then I got up there. And so one reason I'm bubble-eyed, I'm looking down. I'm like, this platform is no bigger than this table right here at the biggest. And it was wood that had the old braces. You know what I mean? Yeah,
American
I'm talking about.
though.
Yeah, buddy. And then had the wood that come out that went down and was the seat that you sat on. So I'm sitting up there on this thing, got that little 44 Magnum, looking down, ain't no rail or nothing. And I mean, 12 foot, it could have been 14 foot, whatever it was, but it looked like I was up 35 foot at that time. I'm like, if I fall out this thing, it's gonna, I'm done. And then, but what's on my mind is, it ain't like no step around, it was made for like a grown man. I'm like, how am I going to get out of this stand? I got up here, but now how am I going to get down?
Right.
This ain't even funny, And anyway, I'm sitting there just all down and out, just down in my whole world. And I think this is another one of them good Lord thing just blessed me that morning. I'm sitting there and I'm on the edge of a cutover and sitting there just pretty as could be. And all of a sudden, here comes this just pretty little young buck, with these old horns sticking up. They were kind of tall, 3-pointer up there. Man, the whole attitude changed. I'm like, buck. And I throw up and shoot the deer and watch him run out into the cutover and fall with that 44 Magnum. And that's how most of them would do with that gun. Is like you said, they'd buck up or either they'd just run and just crash right there. And I was tickled. Daddy heard me shoot and he sat in the stand about another hour or so and come down there and got me. But I think I skedaddled on down that stand pretty easy then once I had a buck on the ground. You know what I mean? I done figured a way, if I can hit that step and that step, I can come on down it. So
your mind was positive at that time.
Oh, yeah. That was another memory that will always stick with you.
Yeah.
And you remember like that little bitty things of being so upset getting pushed to climb up something. It was like a rock climbing wall. You know what I mean? That was made for a grown man, but that hunt was always to be the one that cherished me. So, you got any more young hunts that you had?
I had a bunch of them. I remember like the first deer I missed, it was a doe. And this was the year before when I was 7. I had like a 12, I think may have been a 12 gauge actually, but it was buckshot. And we were sitting and had some does come in. I remember trying to shoot and the recoil, man, I shot probably 20 feet over the deer. We were hunting on the ground, but every time we hunt on the ground a lot. The stands we had back then were not, we didn't have the ground blinds like they have now. We didn't have the stands either. We had this tree stands. You could put one person in them. We didn't have like double stands back then. So I don't think
nobody did.
Yeah. So, but no, it was, we've had some good memories as kids and whatnot. And, it's fun, like reminiscing what you did as a kid and watching it in your kids' eyes. And that's what it brings back all these awesome memories when I'm taking my kids out. And it's just like, this is what life's about,
Did you get to hunt in the metal trampoline seat stands? You remember them?
Mm-mm.
You don't remember them? It was like a metal stand. They were like 12 foot tall. And they called them trampoline seats because that's what they were made out of, was the trampoline material. And it's not like a Millennium. Like you're thinking, like Millennium. Yeah, that's nice. No, it was wrapped around trampoline. So a metal stand went over, ailed over, just 2 bars. And then the trampoline seat went around and had 3 to 4 trampoline springs that brought that material in on the bottom. And man, you'd sit there in that old butt if you didn't have another cushion. It wasn't no rail or nothing, and it's as wide as this little seat that we're sitting in now, and that's what you sat up there in. And it wasn't like a footrest or nothing. You was kind of same way as like this stool. You was cramped up on that thing, sitting up there, 12 foot by a tree. But I killed a many a deer out of one of them things. And it was crazy because it had like one little buckle strap you would take and put around it. You really didn't even have ratchet straps then. I mean, I imagine they'd come out with ratchet straps, but it was a chain that went around it that had that turnbuckle,
right?
You know,
oh yeah,
and it had a little loop, and that's all that went on it. So you'd take a screwdriver and tighten that joker to the tree, but you could move it like simple because they wasn't that heavy. You'd go up there and climb and move it, and I'm gonna move down here to this white oak bottom and put it up. But I hunted out of them things many a time. Besides, like you talking about the A-maker stands, and then they had a Tomcat climbing stand that was like one of the first. Man, that thing was nice, and it was made out of it was made out of conduit. Had the little spikes on the conduit you sit in. You look back at it now like, how did that thing hold some of these big old men without being in that conduit? You know, they were made. That was pretty cool. Going back to this, I'm enjoying us sitting there talking about it because I do look back, and I've told people before, you tell kids that y'all just don't know how good you had it. You're sitting here, and we've progressed in hunting and turn hunting around where you are killing way better deer now than we did back then. I mean, you would kill some big deer. You'd have your uncle drive up, and he's done killed a monster, you know, and we even ran dogs back then. You know, we'd turn.
I didn't get to do that.
Yeah, and that was fun, and it was crazy but fun. I mean, they'd get together, and it wasn't like coon dogs, but it was kind of on the same perspective. It was like July hounds and all. I knew some folks that had them, and they would go down to a block of woods and turn them in it, and everybody would go out and get around to the other side. And it wasn't like beagles running it where the deer were slow. I mean, they were burning them down. You know what I mean? And they'd come across the road. You'd shoot at it with a shotgun running. It was kind of crazy. So I got to see a lot of stuff. And I don't even know if that was legal where we was at, but that's the way we was, that was meat hunting, going out trying to kill meat. A lot of people lived off of deer meat.
Yeah, for sure.
Back then. So these kids these days, they get to go see the feeders and sit up and watch the deer and all, and have a good time at hunting. And that's another, I wanted to ask you your opinion on that. We're talking about feeders. I was going to get into this question too. So do you think our kids do have it really, really good these days? And sometimes I look back though, are we spoiling them? You know what I mean? I'm sitting there thinking, like, at a young age where a deer, you get these cameras and these deer and not knocking them. I did it the same way with my daughter. And so I'm not sitting there taking this away from nobody or trying to make it a negative thing. I'm not doing that. But I look back and I worry about it sometimes. I'm like, we're putting these feeders out, putting this camera, we're doing it ourselves.
Yep.
But we grew up hunting and different, and we're enjoying it. So we know that we're, like me and you, we pick out these target bucks we're wanting to hunt. That's what we want to hunt. We'll kill some does for meat and everything, but we're wanting to hunt this specific buck, which we couldn't do that years ago. So I think it's turned hunting into a different aspect, which is cool and fun and letting you really hunt trophy deer. The only thing I worry about that is with our kids.
Yeah.
Because if you take a kid at 9, 10 years old or 8 years old, which you killed a good buck, and if you let them sit there, and like I did this with Kylie, she didn't sit there but 30 minutes, or I say 30 minutes, she sat there an hour and a half. I'd wait till that hour and a half because I didn't want her to get antsy and want to leave, so I'd only go in there about an hour and a half before dark or whatever, and they kill that deer. And I just worry because I've seen it a few times with friends. It's like they go straight back to just being able to go kill a deer because the feeder's going off and here comes deer running in. And, it's hard to kill a specific buck at times. I know that.
Yeah.
But when you're putting them on a certain deer or putting them on deer over and over, just coming in and running to that dinner bell, are they still going to be interested in it at 15? And that's what worries me,
So with that, I think it's all about the competition. So the challenge when you're a kid is just seeing a deer, like just being able to see one. And today, you can put feed out and deer come to it. But the way I see it is it's kind of like fishing in a pond versus a public lake. Like, it's going to be, who wouldn't want to take a kid to a pond and let them catch a 5-pound bass out of a private pond, Right. Yeah, eventually, but then what's the next thing after that? So I think, every season in life is going to have, you're just going to have to relearn it a little differently. And you're right. You get a kid who's been going for 10 years. By the time he's 15, he's done killed, a bunch of 5-year-olds over a corn pile. And by the time he's 15, that's no longer a challenge. What's the next challenge? We don't know how long they're going to keep it legal to be able to keep doing this.
Right.
But my whole thing is,
make it a challenge, because it doesn't matter what you have out there. If you're dealing with a 2-year-old deer, it could be a lot easier than 4 or 5-year-old deer. So like, it's kind of up to, I think, the parents' description of what they think when it comes to these kids. Like, what, do you want it to be real hard, or do you need it to be really easy for them? Because if it's too hard, they're gonna lose interest, and then your kids don't even want to go anymore. But then you have, like, my little girl's different. For instance, it's just lucked out this way. I was gonna let her shoot just anything, because I know when it comes to actually the hunting thing, she may get bored a little faster than my boy. My boy is motivated. Yeah. So I might make it a little bit hey man, like, unless you really want to take that deer, like, let's hunt this, we'll call this one your deer, and we'll see if we can get it, and we'll hunt that deer, and he'll be fine with doing it. But for my little girl, I wasn't at all going to do it that way. But I think kids are different. So I do believe there's,
you got to take in how much the kid wants to go, what the kid, look at it different ways. I could see that. But
I also want them comfortable around. So like, let's say we go out west when they're 15. Let's go to somewhere where there's no baiting allowed. Now we got a 180-inch deer, 160-inch deer that's 20 yards from you. You're not used to big deer around you. You blow it, you ruin it. But they're used to being around with the feeders. I mean, you get 15 deer that may come to it one night, and you're just getting comfortable being around them. So when that deer does come, you get a little more comfortable and prepared. So I don't know. I mean, there's
the blowing it, and going back to what you said, and I look back through my life, and even as a kid and all that, the blowing it's what give me the drive to want to go harder. You know what I'm saying? The ones that got away, or the ones I messed up on the bow hunting. When I went through my first spell of bow hunting, I'm talking about shooting up under them, shooting over them. I'm talking about decent deer. You know what I mean? It's like sick to your stomach, but that put that drive to, I want to get it done. I'm going back. I'm going to keep going back. So I don't think it's hard or wrong for a kid to blow it. You know what I mean? I think that can be a good thing in a way. I mean, you don't want to keep seeing them miss like big deer or whatever, but I don't think it hurts. I think you need to, it's like I tell anybody, I've had so many people with me, you call up their first turkey or whatever and they miss it. Or a lot of times with the turkey, they just freeze. It's like they just freeze. It's like, oh my gosh. And he's coming in, you like, shoot the turkey, and they're just sitting there. It's like, shoot the turkey. I think that's what puts the drive in them, so I don't think it hurts for a kid to blow it some. You don't want it to be super, super easy. And then I think what you're saying is, like, with kids to these days, like, one thing I will say, and it's like Kylie, your daughter did the same thing. I was not expecting her to go out there and kill that 9-pointer. Yeah. You know what I mean? And this is before reveal cameras or whatever. I just had you pull the card and look at the trail cameras, and there was 2 nice 9-pointers coming. And I told her, I said, there's a couple nice bucks coming, but that spike had come up, and we just had so many deer around in the field. But I did have feed out in front of that blind, and they were coming off persimmon trees making the way, and she chose to want to wait on that deer. Let's wait and see if we see him. And so that was her choice. But I do think when you take a kid in the woods, you shouldn't hold them back from anything.
Yeah.
I just told the story of me killing a spike, me killing 3-point. I was tickled. You know what I mean? Just tickled.
So we've been talking a lot about how old were you when you started hunting, 9, 10, 11. But now that they've allowed feed, it's made it more fun for kids at the age of 3 and 4 and 5.
Yeah, they get to watch deer.
They get to watch deer. I mean, they'd get burnt out at the age of 4, 5, 6, 7 and never see a deer come, because the chances of seeing one walk by 250 yards away. So we came all the way out here to see one deer walk 250 yards away, or not see nothing. And that's definitely going to happen no matter what. But I believe strongly, like, my honest opinion, if it's legal to do it, obviously, but if you can create those memories. To me, it's big picture. It's cool about, if we're going to talk wildlife, it's a different conversation. But for me personally, this is a great time to spend memories regardless. I'm getting to be able to do this, and it's helping the kids be engaged and wanting, like, my little boy likes going more because he knows we're probably going to see some deer tonight. And it's just to the point where by the time he's 15, 16, 17, if he still wants to hunt with dad, I won, but my goal is, this is the first 10, 15 years of their life is like, that's all the parenting you get. Then they're gone.
Right. They're going either way. Either they're going to hunt or not hunt.
So for this perspective on how I'm looking at it, I think it's a win, because it is encouraging them to not want to sit at home
it gets them outdoors. I mean, in this area, in this category with the kids, I think it's a great situation. I mean, if they even said they banned it for all adults, you got to be under 16 to shoot a deer over a corn pile. That's fine. Right. I'm cool with that.
Right.
But I do think it's created more kids are hunting today at the younger ages, in my opinion, because they're seeing more deer.
Oh, that's a good point. I like that point. You kind of hit it on the head of the nail with that. That really is a good point. Different scenario than even I've kind of looked at it in a way. You know what I mean? So just putting them out there, getting them out there, and they know they get to see. And you know, thinking of that, you told me this last year that we've been talking about kids, but you after Adeline killed that deer and all, and Monica had went hunting with you some, and Dana, you know, she used to hunt with me a back, but she's gotten where she don't as much anymore. But you told me, like Monica said, I want to go deer hunting.
She never cared to go.
And you like put her up in a stand by herself, or left her
with Landon.
Yeah, Landon's like, go check out this field. I got a food plot. They're hitting hard, and I remember you can tell it. You know what I
mean? So she was not from a hunting background. Her dad was Air Force military brat, so they literally up and moved every 2 to 3 years. So she was not ever in a country living type atmosphere. So the deer hunting thing, it never clicked to her. She just thinks we're out there killing animals, you know. But yeah, she was cool with eating deer. She never had an issue with that at all. But now that she's starting to witness our kids really enjoying this, and the stories, they'd come home, Dad, Mom, you wouldn't believe, me and Dad were sitting there, we saw a bobcat, and the bobcat had some cubs, and we saw some raccoons, we saw this, we saw a bunch of turkeys came in, and they got right next to us, and whatever it is, these stories and the way their faces would just light up with excitement to get home and tell Mom the whole detail of everything. Or, you know, in the very few times we actually do kill something, I mean, that boy would talk about it for nonstop. She finally kind of was like, all right, you know, like, I was like, tell you what, just go with them one day. She's like, I want to try it. You know, didn't even bring a gun. She just wanted to go sit in the stand. And then she literally, when it was all said and done, she was texting me the whole time. We got several deer. There's several bucks out there in the field and just eating. And Landon, my little boy, last year was just telling her every little detail of everything. Like, look, see, Mom, that buck. See how he's grunting here and chasing that little. I mean, there's little bucks chasing does and whatnot. But she was just so like amused at just how awesome just being out there and them talking, just the quietness. And it's just we miss out as parents by just not doing these kind of things with our kids. I mean, obviously some people aren't blessed enough to be able to go do this all the time, but I mean, the world is crazy. I mean, you don't get that kind of quality time at home. My wife, you know, she does not get that quiet time. I mean, for her, going to spend a one-on-one time is going to the movies or going, and it's always something that's loud, or going to a ball game.
Right.
But when you sit in the quiet woods, I mean, you're at a level that you can't be at anywhere else, anything else you're doing. And she kind of saw that.
The conversation even changes
everything.
You know what I mean? It does. It goes into stuff. You can talk deep conversation that's, to some people it might not mean nothing. I guess it's that song like that she thinks we're fishing. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, it's like, yeah, we are deer hunting, but I'm just getting to sit here and you getting to listen to them talk. You know, you can get stuff out of them that you just at home, because of the craziness, you're not going to sit there and have them conversations.
Well,
you know?
When you're home, have you noticed, like, well, at your kids' age now, but if you go back to when your kids were 3, 4, 5, and 6, if you just listen how loud your house is all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's so loud.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're trying to tell them something, you can't just talk quiet to them. You got to pick up your stuff. You got to talk to them loud, you know. But have you ever noticed, like, when you do talk quiet to them, they listen better.
Right.
They don't, when you loud, all they hear is noise, you know. So, like, it's funny, like, when you're trying to, hey, hurry up, get your stuff. We're going to be late. We got to go. We're constantly, there's all this loud noise. But when you're in the woods and you're quiet, it's like you get this attention with that kid that you just don't get at home. They're so tuned in to every little thing you're saying. It's just, I don't know. To me, it's just.
I imagine your house is loud. Yours turned 1, right?
My baby just turned 1 year old.
Yeah, so you're wide open. You got 3 of them just wide open as could be in them age years, you know. Yep. I imagine between Landon and Adeline, the little arguing and fussing. I can remember mine. You know what I mean? Mine were 4 years apart, but yeah,
loud all the time.
Sometimes you just I'd have to walk outside, and all mine, even though they got older, I love them to death. But I would say women now. You know what I mean? So now it still gets loud, and I just know to just keep my mouth shut, because then they all jump on me. So it's kind of funny, but no, I love them to death. But yeah, tell me. I got one more thing I really want to hit on with you too. Is You lucky joker. So I actually have been blessed and lucky in my life and won the Baines Big Buck Contest several times. And so I told my buddy Steven Stancil about the Big Buck Contest. He never hardly got in. And then 2 years in a row, you beat me out, you know? And I'm like, I was told by another friend, that's your stupidity. You shouldn't have told him about it. But you won it this year, you know? Yeah. And tell me the story about that, because Landon had a lot to do with that. It wasn't you, really. It was more him.
It was him. So this year we had two bucks that were going to be. They should have been big enough coming up this past year. We've seen them a little bit. Been watching them the last couple of years. Well, you know, Adeline's deer was one of my hit list deer, and then we had this other one. It was like a 13 point, and last year he was just a 7, but he was a 4.5-year-old 7 point. Well, whatever happened this year, that joker he just blew up. And I had pictures of him galore. He was low. I mean, he was coming for 7 weeks straight. I was getting him all during velvet. I had him I was in his living room. Bow season comes around. The wind was never right. Never saw him. And then as soon as about that November time frame, that deer just disappeared. And I'd get like one random picture of him, like every 2-3 weeks. And at 2 a.m, I'd get like a picture of him. And then he just vanished. And I went 3 weeks. This is like maybe late November. I mean, this is like, there's still a little rutting activity going on, but he's gone. I hadn't even had a picture of him in 3 weeks. And so at this point, I didn't even know if I should hunt for him. At this point, we're just hunting for anything. Just if some random stray deer comes through at this point. And Landon had been going and going and going. And the minute I told you earlier about him sitting on the ground on that log, he said, "Daddy, you remember that when we sat on that log?" And then he said, "Daddy, I want to do that again." And I said, okay. Well, he's like, "I want to hunt on the ground." I said, "All right." He's like, can we hunt somewhere different than here? I was like, yeah, where do you want to go? He's like, "Let's just go to a different place. Let's just do something different." So I was like, okay. So we decided to walk past the deer stand, and we walked and walked and walked. And he's like, "Daddy, let's just sit here. You know, this is good." I was like, I've never hunted here. This is so thick right here. Like, why in the world does he want to sit here? I was like, okay. So we sat right here in the middle of this thick stuff. And I mean, you can see like one little area, you can see like 45, 50 yards, but everything else was just so dang thick you couldn't really see. And I was like, all right. So we sat there, and Lord and behold, here comes a deer, like we're 40, 50 yards in front. I'm like, oh my goodness, all right. So we're looking at this deer, and it looked like a young buck. I was like, dang it, man. Well, he's going this way at it, just steadily going this way. And sure enough, I look this way, and a doe blows. I'm like, oh crap, the wind's blowing that direction. I'm like, dang, I don't even know how big this buck is. And we're on the ground. That deer just blew and busted us. And well, next thing you know, the doe's blowing, and I'm like, it's running to us. I was like, this doe's blowing and running towards us, so it doesn't smell us. I'm like, what in the world? Well, that buck that was coming this way turns and starts coming towards the doe. I was like, well, dang, maybe it's a hot doe. You know, I've heard them blow at bucks before. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, there's like 5 bucks, all young bucks, but they're on this doe's tail, and that doe's blowing like crazy. She runs and runs, comes out, and literally, no joke, probably 4 of them come from me to you, and we're on the ground. They're running at a sprint. I could about touch them with my gun. And behind them, Lord behold, there's that 13-pointer. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? It's like, what the crap? I'm at this point, I'm like, where's it? This deer's been gone for, I hadn't even seen him in 3 weeks. And he's the number 6 deer behind that doe just running. I'm like, you dog. So, of course, now I'm trying to get on this deer. I wasn't expecting to shoot something tonight. So, anyways, a deer comes running, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the big, Joker's, I think he was 20 inches inside spread. He was wide, you know. So, on the ground, seeing a 20-inch wide 13-point bouncing through the woods.
That close.
He ran by us at like 20 yards, but it was so fast I couldn't get a shot. It's so thick in there. Well, next thing you know, he comes and he stops, and I'm sitting right here, and Landon is sitting right here to my left. And I ended up having to I was like, lay down. So he's like laying down, and he's turned looking, and I had to put my elbow like on his leg, and I'm trying to shoot this deer. And he's, "Daddy, you're hurting my leg. You're hurting my leg." I'm like, hold on, move. So I had to readjust, and sure enough, I shoot this deer, and he's staring right at the deer. It's 35 yards, and I shot him, and it dropped. Right in his tracks, and I'm like, man. So so that deer ended up giving me I think first place up there. So
yeah, that's cool though. Just especially the hunt with him. When you told me that story, you called me up just excited. And I couldn't imagine. And I was like, yep, that's how it works. It's just like Kylie telling me, that deer went that way. And I'm like, no. Landon's like, let's walk down here and sit.
And like I said, it was a good distance. We walked
500, 700, 800 yards probably from where we normally hunt. And anyways, but with that competition, we used, I was able to win that gun, and I used that money towards getting Landon his gun.
Landon his second gun. So both guns come from you winning the big buck contest.
Yep,
that's
for the
pretty
kids.
cool too. Yeah, that's really cool. So that's special memories on top of itself. You know what I mean? Of how you got the guns, and some of those, like the guns, and when I have been blessed enough to do that in place, like one of the guns I have now is 308 that I love hunting with, and I think me and you talked about it. I picked it out when I won one of those contests, and it's like my favorite gun to hunt with. But yeah, that's pretty cool. But I will say this, man, I'm gonna give you credit that you're raising them kids right, and that hunt right there with Landon, that's another one of them things to me that was a blessing by the Lord. And, you know, Landon, he had been, because I talk to you when it's deer season, we talk almost every day, every other day. You know what I mean? I got friend me, you, Joey, Anthony. She always going to get a phone call or text, you know what I mean? And you kind of know what's going on with each other. And I remember you telling me, man, Landon's going hunting. Man, Landon's going hunting. You know what I mean? And you were down and out. You was like, I don't know if he's dead. I don't know. You know what I mean? I've talked to people. I think I would know if somebody killed him. You know, it's like, he's gone.
He's been gone.
It's like, he's gone, you know, and then you went down there and did that. So I think that was one of them blessings by the Lord that just put Landon in the site. You know what I mean? I'm tired of hunting here. Let's go hunt somewhere else. And ended up finding that buck. Just stuff like that to me, just
neat story.
It is a neat story, but something's a little special there that puts it together. And I always give the credit to I think the Lord does it. You know what I mean? That just gives us them little pushes and knows what we put into hunting. And, you know, it's like I'll tell anybody, you kind of reap what you sow. If you put all your effort into things, you know, he's going to pay off. That don't matter if it's hunting, sports, different stuff. You know, you put your heart into it and your effort, and you put him into it too. And you definitely put that into it with your kids. And I don't know if you know, that's one thing like I do love about is it's like I took the 13-year-old boy this year, and he killed a turkey, his very first turkey, and it was youth day. And I can remember this, and I'll always remember it, and I think he will too. We got set up on a tree, and it was in the dark, and we had plenty of time because I wanted to get in there early because I knew the birds were roosting in there. And I told him, I said, let's just me and you pray. I said, let's say a prayer. And we did. We said a prayer together, you know, and I kind of just was kind of shoulder to shoulder with him and said a prayer about the morning and everything. And it was like one of them deals. I knew the turkeys were kind of in the area and all, but as soon as we got through praying and everything, and we had a decent little prayer. It wasn't one of these let the hunt be good. You know, we prayed about little things, prayed about stuff, and got through. And we were sitting there, and it got all quiet. And by that time, I heard, and I'm like, that's a turkey drumming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole morning he got to listen to that and ended up seeing the turkey and ended up killing the turkey. You know what I mean? Throughout the morning, it was awesome. And I'm like, that was, you know, God sent, you know, for us just to be positioned like that.
Perfect.
Pray, thank the Lord for giving us that morning. So
that's cool.
I know you get to do, you know, you have your kids and y'all are in church and all, but going to that, I do just think that I know that you are a good dad, and I wanted to tell you that, even here in front of everybody. Then, you know, Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he grows older, he will not abandon it. And just looking at that verse, you know, I try to put a verse with different things we might talk about, but that just shows right there, if you training your child, not just in hunting, you have them in church, you tell me about the kids doing the youth group, the youth stuff with the kids stuff, and you're training them to be an outdoorsman, you're training them to love the Lord, and you put all that together, and to me, some of the best memories is, like you said, is the childhood, is the outdoors. And I personally think that, and will tell anybody, because that's God's creation. He gave that to us. All this other stuff, man-made, we can make it good, but you will never make it what I've witnessed in the outdoors and witnessed the heartbeat that you have, the adrenaline rush that you have. There's nothing out there that compares to it. The only thing that I have witnessed close enough, and talking about these kids, close enough in the outdoors with my adrenaline, and was probably the best day of our life, not killing that big buck, was watching my kid be born. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was, other than that adrenaline and with the Holy Spirit and everything, talking together, working together, you know, and seeing what God has done. And I'll tell anybody, and I know, like, when my kids kill something, it's way better than me. It's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to pass it on, pass it down, show it, you know, to the next generation, raise them up right. And I don't care who you are. I've done it with people that's hunting. I've done it with people that I know that aren't born-again Christians.
Yeah.
I've took people hunting that I know aren't born-again Christians, and God blessed us with a hunt that we succeeded at. And that person will still thank God. We got him. Thank God. You know what I mean? I'm like, you thanking God? I mean, yeah. You know what I mean? So you see it. And I mean, that's me. I mean, it's like if I kill a big deer or if I got a trophy deer, you know, I can go back to my last hunt this year, which was a turkey hunt. Got on a turkey hammering on a tree. It was just awesome, me by myself. And I usually like hunting with people about more than me, but that turkey flew down in my face. I mean, just was right there. And when I got through, I jumped up, and it was like I did a little circle in the food plot and was, thank you, Lord, for, you know, this blessing. This morning was awesome, you know.
So speaking on the memories and God's creation deal, but both my kids, Mason's too young right now, but both of them appreciate already a good sunrise. They don't talk about, man, look how pretty that picture is on the wall or this artwork. They think, God, look at that sunrise. Y'all stop, look at this. Yeah. And my wife's over here like, a sunrise? What? You know, my kids love sunsets and sunrise, but they get it. They know.
That's
like
what it's about.
It's a glimpse of that early morning crisp sunrise coming up. I mean, they appreciate it.
That's what it's about. And I put that out there in a lot of my hunting, especially when it comes to taking people turkey hunting and all. Turkey season very special to me. It ain't just because of how much I love turkey hunting. And I'll say this, you'll hear me on this podcast repeat this over and over. Turkey hunting is special to me because it's that time of year. Yeah. It's Easter time. It's time of the resurrection. It's time that Jesus died on the cross and paid his life, you know, paid for all of our sins. And the thing is after 3 days and, you know, pure silence and all, he resurrected. God lifted him out of that grave and showed everybody that we could have eternal life. And I'll tell anybody, you know, especially this is in the deer woods and all too. If you get in that deer stand, or you standing there and you walk down a road and you get to the end of a logging bed where you want to stand and listen for turkeys or whatever, you stand there, it's dead quiet. I mean, springtime, don't get me wrong, sometimes you got the whippoorwills and the owls, but if you sit there, pretty much everything is dead quiet. And then when that sun just starts even thinking about cracking, especially during turkey season, that robin's one of the first that starts making his little whistling. And then all the other birds wake up and everything wakes up, and like that first turkey gobble, it's like to me, him being in the grave, you know what I mean? And just resurrecting. And he does it. And I explain that too to people. Every day, God gives you every day to go to sleep and wake up. And I can be a failure. One day I can be a failure because there's days that I fail bad. You know what I mean? Your brain ain't where it's supposed to be. Your flesh, you're doing stuff. You get to talking to buddies. You get down a rabbit hole you shouldn't be talking about. And it's like, man, we shouldn't even went down that road. We've done it. We all do it. You know what I mean? And you sit there. But the thing is every day he gives you that chance. You know what I mean? You get to do it again. You get to do it again. Yeah. You know, but the big warning is one day you're going to have that last day. So I hope you can find Jesus, because you know what I mean. That's it. That's what it's all about. We get to enjoy what we have in creation, but that is number one, what it's all about. So I really appreciate you being on the show with me, Steven.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the talking, and I really, really enjoyed the stories. And hopefully I can have you back on again one day and we can talk about some future stories here coming up this deer season. Hopefully I can get with you, and Landon will be to knock one out. So,
stay tuned.
I'm ready for that.
Ready for it.
So anyway, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, appreciate you having me out here.
Yeah.
Shocking silver queen on my grandma's porch. Peach ice cream churning on the floor. Telling largemouth lies when you're fishing. Girl next door had you wishing on a shooting star in a July sky. 4th and 1 on a Friday night when the muddy water made my soul a little cleaner. Life was good. was a little sweeter.